So love who you love don't care anyhow. It don't care if you're black or white. Don't care if you're young or old. Love don't care if you're rich or poor. And you need somebody to hold.
What it do? What it do? All right.
All
Black,
right.
white, left, right. I'm the black guy.
I am the white guy,
I'm on the
looking,
left.
and I am on the right. And good to be back with you guys for episode 5.
No doubt.
Got a full deck here today. Gonna let Alonzo tee us up for the first subject here, and it's probably a subject that, since I'm in Middle Georgia, maybe a lot of people, are contemplating this or thinking about it. So anyway, go ahead, tee us off there, Alonzo. Let's see what we got today.
All right. First and foremost, I mean, it is what? This is what, March 16th. The new administration in DC has been in place, what, just under 3 months, 2 months?
2 months.
Ish? Two
2 months.
months.
Yeah. 60 days or
And
something like that.
and a lot of shit has hit the fan, a lot of blowback, a lot of fallout, a lot of discontentment, a lot
Hmm.
of angst, anxiety, you name it. But I think one of the things that's top of mind for everyone right now is the mass firings that's going on at the federal level. A lot of folks are losing their jobs, going batshit crazy,
Hmm.
losing their ability to take care of their families, and everything, all the collateral damage that comes with losing their work. All right, last time I checked, um, and the reports are varied, but a
Right.
lot of folks who voted for this new administration are the same folks who are losing their fucking jobs. Mike, go.
Well, I'm going to respond by saying, much like COVID, in my opinion, this is being blown into a bigger story, and a lot of angst is probably happening on one party, not so much the other party. I'm not sure how many people who voted for Trump work for the government, but I've been reading some numbers that the vast majority of government workers are Democrats. I mean, it's just a fact. But obviously, you have
So it's
people that
okay.
are in.
So it's okay for Democrats to lose their jobs? Is that what you're saying? I thought we're all
No,
Americans.
I'm just correcting what you said about, like, a lot of people that voted for Trump are losing their jobs. I think there's probably a lot of people that did not vote for Trump that are losing their jobs. That doesn't mean it hurts any less for whoever you voted for, but I'm just correcting what you said. Second of all, defense. Now, obviously, people that work with the Defense Department are a lot of times are more Republican leaning. So something like Robbins Air Force Base that's here, you have people that, they're defense, I don't know, just invokes more of a patriotic feeling, a more pro-America feeling. So
So
anyway,
Mike, do you know any people personally who have been affected by these layoffs and firings?
I don't know anybody that's been laid off or fired. I know people that had to do they had to turn in the 5 things that they did that week. And I know a lot of people that are having to actually go to work now to a building where they were working at home. I think the number was something like 4% were only actually working away or working in government buildings. And there was a massive amount of buildings that were they were powered. They have power on in them. They have water on in them and all the services, and nobody's in them. It's quite a thing. So I guess, people actually, after COVID exposed a lot of things, but I think what it did expose is that a lot of people, quote unquote, aren't necessary to continue. It's not just government work, but certain business functions don't require 5 people. Maybe it only needed 1 or 2. And so now you're seeing that in businesses and also people that are interested in trying to peel back government waste and how much money is being spent are noticing these things. And so what I would tell you is that if you did vote for Trump and you're somehow shocked this is going on, he ran on this. I mean, he's doing exactly. I'm trying to think of something that he's doing that he said he wasn't going to do. This week they're really focusing on the Department of Education, and he talked about completely closing the Department of Education. It's not like it's a shock. It's not a shock to me. Maybe it's a shock to some people who, maybe we're the hyper-informed, at least hyper-informed in the things that we choose to read up on or look into. But Let me start by saying, if you have a job anywhere and you're laid off, it's real. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. And I remember, God, maybe 2012, was it? It was the second, we reelected Obama right after 4 years of Obama. When I say we, the nation reelected him. And it was a period of about 18 months because they instantly raised our taxes right after 2008. We had this whole horrible. Anyway, bottom line is I worked for 18 months in my dental office and paid my staff and kept it open, and I didn't pay myself $1 for 18 months. I was burning through the little bit of money I had saved up at that point. I was doing okay. I was a dentist, but I mean, it's wild to go to work for a year and a half, and I actually couldn't send myself any income just to try to get through that. So, various levels of that have gone on. It's not like I'm unique, and it's not a sob story. I'm just saying we all have our stories. Perhaps you do as well. So the second part of this, and it's going to sound cold and uncaring, and frankly, it's not that I don't care. It's just, it's real. I mean, like I said, people try not, they don't get to the real, and, the government is not a jobs program. It's not. It's supposed to be there. The program's in place, and things that are in place are supposed to address needs and handle those needs by using tax dollars, and the tax dollars that are spent are supposed to counter and be whatever's being done by that department or whatever function that the government's doing for that tax money is supposed to be worth the money that's going into it, or it's supposed to be doing what is expected of it. And, there comes a point sometimes where programs get bloated. They're not useful anymore. Perhaps the nation is technology has changed things, or nation's needs have changed. But what we're finding is a lot of programs are still in place, and people don't want to stop them for just the reason you explained. There's a lot of people working at this department. And when I say a lot of people, I think we have a kind of a misunderstanding of just how large, it's a large workforce, the government workforce. And frankly, the last 4 or 5 years, almost all of the growth, we're starting to get more of it now in the private sector, but almost all of the growth of quote unquote jobs have been government jobs. It's been wild. Those are the jobs that were, when they're showing hey, we added 150,000 jobs this month, how much of that is the private sector? And how much sometimes it was the private sector losing jobs and the government gaining jobs. So I don't doubt it's real. What I would say is, just like a lot of other things that we're going to be hearing, this is something that's being inflated, made to be this big, massive thing. I think 75,000 of the federal jobs that are gone. Let me just give you the numbers I looked up, because it took a while to find all this. 2% of the workforce of the nation is federal. 2%. So it's not this massive percentage of the total workforce. So I don't think the American public is happy when they see their neighbor who works selling the base, for instance, get laid off. Obviously it's real. But in general, it's not being felt nationwide to the level that, certain people would politically try to push this to be. Now, if you live near something like a base, or you're in Washington, D.C., or you're around an area that it's almost all government funded, then obviously you're worried about this. The goal that the Trump administration set was to try to have about 10 to 20% of federal workers just leave on their own, like 1/5. And that's why they put in that buyout where you could say, hey, if I'm going to leave in the next 12 months or whatever it is, and you just walk out and they pay you for that 12 months, and you're no longer an employee, but you've gotten 12 months severance to go find a private sector job. And so 75,000 employees have done that. There's 135 million private sector workers and around 3 million federal workers. So the average American who pays taxes, which is coming up here shortly, and they see, waste and stuff, and they go to the DMV, they go somewhere where they have to deal with quote unquote government workers or government projects, government procedures, then they're not they're probably not as emotionally tied to this as you would think they are. And that coupled with the fact that most government workers are not Republicans, so the Trump angle to this, where they're going to hate who they voted for, I just don't see that. Now that's what's going to be tried to be pushed or made to be true or whatever. But the federal government is not a jobs program. It's not here to create jobs. It's here to create services that are necessary, and only the services that are necessary that warrant taking taxpayer dollars to create those services. Somebody's got to administer, Social Security, veterans. Somebody's got to administer, there's tons of things. So they're trying to get about a fifth of people just to say, hey, I see the writing on the wall. They're going to be cutting. I can take this 12 months pay and leave on my own. And, or I'm involved in USAID, which is just doing bullshit programs overseas and funding all kinds of massive crap. My job's going to be gone. I might as well get out now with this money while I can, because the government is going to cut, the current administration is just going to cut this department. And some of these departments are going to be easy to do that to, because the American public are with that. They are going to be like, yeah, I don't want to be funding, kangaroo sex studies in, Guatemala or whatever. I'm just making that up. But I mean, there's stuff like that. There's a lot of government employees who just got hired, or they're what I would call like part-time or probationary, something like 200,000. It's quite a bit. I don't know what the percentage of that. Right now, about 24,000 of them were laid off simply because they just started. They haven't really done any jobs, any work. That's about 10% of the probationary ones. And some of the departments now are organizing almost like a union, which is wild to have the government forming unions against the administrations or citizens. But they're finding liberal judges to try to counter Trump's executive orders. He's the executor of the government anyway. So you do have some judges that are I don't know how they're going to enforce it. Some guy decrees in Maryland that the entire nation has to do blah 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 because I say so. We'll see how these things work out, but the National Treasury Employees Union or something, the National Treasury, couldn't even tell you how many people work there. Formed, they took Trump to court, and I don't know what state it was. It was probably, like I said, it's always New York, California, Maryland, one of these, where they have friendly, and look, the Republicans, when they do this, go to friendly states too. So I'm not saying that's a bad idea or something. But anyway, the whole idea is, and this is the part of it where I could get on board with a government employee to just be told on Monday. Let's say I came into work as the new CEO of Geico, and I just have in my mind that we need to cut the workforce here. It's draining, which might be the right thing we need to do. It's just draining the company. We can't keep up with all the things we've promised old employees and everything. And so, we're just going to cut the workforce and work smarter. And I have all these ideas. So I come in Monday, and then Tuesday go, Alonzo, you're fired because I say so. On some aspects, I feel like if you own a company or you're, whatever, that company has your job. It's not your job, it's their job, and you're in it. But the other side of me says, man, that's pretty cold. You need to have like a something in place that's humane to let people, a process where people can say, okay, they're giving me 60 days, or they're going to cut the workforce. Why am I the one being cut? Why not the guy over here who's only been here less than me? I mean, there should be a ranking or some sort of something to do this in a way that is logical and also fair. Now, fair here and fair there, whatever. I mean, you can't make it fair for everybody, it's just like everything. But so that side of the lawsuit is what they're pursuing. I think in the end, they're going to be able to remove people. It's just there are laws in place. I think it's called the reduction in force protocol or something like that, where 10 years tenure, how long you've been there. There's a veterans preference where veterans are granted preference in being removed, for jobs being removed, the length of service. I mean, the aptitude, performance ratings, all these things, it makes sense. To me, that's the logical way to let people go. But they are doing Trump is doing what he said he was going to do. And he got 95% of the people he wanted to put into place into these head positions. I can tell you, I'm all for it. Now, I have a brother who works on the base. He probably might feel a little differently about it, because he's having to now, there's evaluations. He's having to turn things in. I don't feel like he'll get cut, but who knows? That entire base was at risk of being completely dismantled several times in the past, including in 2009 or 10 when Obama was there. They were talking about just removing, closing Air Force bases. They were also talking about closing it with Republican presidents before that, too. So it's not just Obama, but that was the last one. February numbers, the private employers added 151,000 jobs in February. And most of the gains came in healthcare and finance. And the federal number of jobs that dropped was 10,000. So I don't know the total number that has actually been laid off. I really don't, but I would assume it's something less than 200,000 out of the 3 million. It's not 3 million jobs. And I have links here. I don't want to read them all, but it goes into each department. And I actually tried to read all that. And I was just like, man, the government is freaking huge. And some departments, you'd be surprised how few work there. Less than 700 people in some of them. And, they're cutting 12 or something like that. So anyway, I'm not exactly sure if this is going to go, if it's a political angle to this, like people who are using this as maybe a political tool. But for me, reducing the size of the government and what it spends is a good way to allow the government to do other things that it should be spending on. And I really don't have anything more to add to it. I think one of the things that you seem to be focusing on, and it's a narrative that I see all over the place, so I'm assuming it's getting to you, is you're a Trump voter and you voted for this. Quit whining or something like that. And the things that I'm worried about, to be honest with you, that Trump said he was going to do that could cause real bad problems are these tariffs. It's a tool, like I said, like we were talking about with sometimes he just says crazy stuff, or, hey, we're going to do Greenland, but he's not joking about the Greenland thing, and I think he wants the Panama Canal. This stuff about joining up with Canada sounds crazy on the surface of it, but the Greenland thing, I think they're really pushing for that, and the people that just got reelected in Greenland are a party that actually they want to do that. They want to be away from Denmark. They want to be joined with the United States. Now, it's maybe not necessarily with us as a state. He pushes 100% thing and then ends up getting 40% as the result, which is better than the 10% that they could have gotten otherwise. It's kind of how Trump works. But the tariffs thing, for a little while, he's going to make these tariffs stick, and they're going to actually cause some pain for some other countries. But those countries are not going to just sit idle. They're going to tariff us back. And so that causes things that we buy here to go up. It's just no other way around it. So you're going to have some pain here in the United States while they sort through all this. And it's not like Trump took over a sprawling economy with it was on fire. I mean, we're only 60 days in. There's a lot of things that were left burning that we're still having to deal with. And some of that stuff, because we have a new president, is just he's obviously going to be the one that's blamed for it. But they're being pretty smart about how they bring those topics out. and explain where they came from and how they got there. And then they also have plans on what they're going to do about it. They're not just letting it sit. But one of the things that seems to be going extremely well is the stuff they're doing with the border and illegals and all. And I didn't know how that was going to roll, or there'd be a million sad stories, but it seems like they're being smart about that as well. So the Department of Education being completely closed sounds like I see it, man. I wish I could join you. I'm going to be going to the Atlanta United game here shortly with my son, and I can't even have a drink there. But I'm looking forward to that. I really like the team, and it's a lot of fun. But one of these episodes, you're going to catch me at home where I can have a glass with you. Do you have a bunch of friends that have federal jobs? I mean, maybe you see some other angle to this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a former federal employee myself, being former military. I am a veteran.
Yeah.
Okay. My family has ties to Robins Air Force Base. All right. I got a brother who works for the federal government right now. All right. He still has his job, but the stress level is getting to him.
Yeah.
I do have a personal friend that did lose their job immediately. And obviously, being a veteran, a lot of my friends and my friend network are veterans like myself who went from their military job into a federal job.
Right.
Right. So real world, real time, I am definitely seeing and feeling the impact from that. Now let me go back to something that you said earlier that irked me. So I want to make sure I get this off my fucking chest.
Sure.
All right. All right. You're insinuating or outright said it's mostly Democrats losing their jobs. Fuck them.
No, you said that. I was just correcting you. I was correcting you. But
that
you're
was the
saying that.
takeaway. That was my takeaway. But the
Well,
last time I checked, okay, Democrats not a nationality. Republicans not a nationality. American is. All right. So whether it's a Democrat or a Republican that loses their job, that's an American. All right.
Sure.
So, and the collateral damage from that job loss is immense. So it don't just impact the person who got fired. Okay. If they're married, they got a family, got a wife, got kids. Does the wife work? Kids, so on and so forth. Or the kids in private school. You got all of this fallout that comes from it. So it's not just, okay, you lost your job. Good luck finding another one. Fuck off. Okay, you got a severance. Good luck or whatever. It don't work that way. It's a trickle down. All right. And it's a trickle down that will ripple through the entire nation, not just through Democrats or just through the folks who actually felt the pain. It's going to trickle down to you as well. All right. All right. So there is collateral damage to doing shit like this. All right. And I know there's not an American that voted for Trump or Harris or anyone who voted to lose their damn job. All right. And to lose their foundation and to lose what they have. If you work for the federal government for 10, 15, 20 years, chances are you probably bought a home. You got all these things that, your employment afforded you. Now, all of a sudden, you have to go into the private sector, which is extremely competitive.
All yes. Right? Yes, it is.
And it might not be difficult to find a job, but it might be super fucking difficult to find a job that's paying you what you were paying, that you were getting paid, yes, benefit wise and everything. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to belittle that, all right, and be like, oh well, I'm all for it, because I'm pretty sure if it happened to you, you wouldn't sing that tune. I'm pretty sure if it happens to your brother, I hope it don't. If it happens to your brother, you're going to feel the impact from that at some measure. All right, I don't know your family status and your family situation, so I'm speaking in hypotheticals here. I'm not talking about you directly. Okay, but say my brother works for the federal government, and he makes a pretty decent salary, but he relies on that. All right, so he loses his job, and all of a sudden, that fallout happens. How long before my phone rings? Hey man, I'm in a bind. Can you help me? All right, how many times is that going to happen in America? Over and over and over again over the next couple of years. All right, now once again, using hypotheticals here. All right, is Elon Musk going to dole out jobs to these people who are on the street now?
It's not his job to do that. It's not his job to do that.
It's not. Wait a minute. It's not his job to do that. but
Nope.
he owns a huge corporation that employs a lot of people. The point that I'm making is nothing happens in a motherfucking vacuum. All right. And to
Right.
belittle that is disingenuous.
All right.
All right.
Can I respond real
Like I
quick?
said
Let,
before,
let me
hold on,
respond.
don't cut my wisdom, G. All right. I didn't cut yours, don't cut mine.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right.
I'll make notes then. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So the fact of the matter is, man, I'm I don't have any empirical data to back this up. I can only go by instinct, but I'm pretty sure that anyone that voted for Trump, whether they're a federal employee or not, did not vote to lose their motherfucking job for any reason. All right. Especially in the way that it is happening. All right. So my take on all this is that these are real time things that are affecting Americans. Once again, I don't want a Democrat to lose their job. I don't want a Republican to lose their job. I don't want a gay person to lose their job. I don't want an immigrant to lose their fucking job. I don't want anybody to lose their job. Now think about it. Now some of these jobs that got cut, some of these people can possibly transfer, those skills over into the private sector and be okay. All right. But what if it's a janitor that got cut? What if it's someone in a base level customer service job with the government making 30, 40,000 a year? What if those type of people who might not have the training and the skill sets like that maybe? So I mean, if you're GS15, and you're making 150K a year, and you're a government attorney somewhere, all right, you'll probably find a job pretty quick in the private sector. All right. But if you're Susie May, all right, who has a high school education, has been working for the Department of Agriculture in a call center somewhere or whatever, loses a job.
Mm-hmm.
Then what? All right. So all things are not equal when it comes to this. And my question is, what were these things considered? The way it went down, they probably weren't considered. Oh well, we're gonna cut this job here. Fuck off. Good luck. Now that same person who you told to fuck off and good luck, all right, now they're struggling to pay rent. They're struggling to put food on the table. They're struggling to pay their mortgage, car note, all the stuff that go along with that. Next thing you know, guess what? They're gonna need government assistance. They're gonna want welfare, food stamps, and things like that to keep them afloat while they try to rebuild their lives. All right, now who can start bitching about that? Now we got all these folks on motherfucking welfare that we got to pay for. Um, so all these things that not potentially could happen are going to happen.
Yeah.
All right. So if you cut, like you said, 3 million people off the, or however many people, or 200,000 people losing their jobs. It's not 200,000 people losing their jobs. That's 200,000 families. That's 200,000 foundations that have been shaken to the fucking core. And America's going to feel that. I'm going to feel that. You're going to feel that. The grocery shelves are going to feel that. All right. That's the point. So I'm not saying that cutting off the fat is not a smart thing to do, because it is a smart thing to do. All right. But at the same time, you're doing it to Americans. So there has to be a certain level of compassion and a certain level of forethought to this versus, okay, fuck you, get out of here. You don't have a job as of Monday. I mean, so once again, I'm on the outside looking in, but it does not feel like this is something that was thought out to the nth degree when it should have been thought out to the nth degree. All right. So looking in the
Macro.
rearview mirror,
Oh, review.
looking in the rearview mirror, we can see the carnage, all right, already. Now, and looking into the crystal ball, looking into the future, will there be an uptick in crime? Will there be an uptick in maybe divorces? Will there be an uptick in domestic crimes? Will there be an uptick in fraud? These things, it's like I said, nothing happens in a vacuum. You could be the most upstanding citizen, never had gotten in trouble a day in your life. All right. But now your whole world comes crashing down. God only knows what you might be what you might be relegated to doing. So the people that sit in their ivory towers who have financial security and have an infrastructure that's going to take care of them and have a foundation that's going to support them, they don't give a damn. But everybody does not have that luxury. And I'm sure you've seen and heard reports where the majority of America lives paycheck to paycheck. All right.
Yeah.
Now, that is just a reality that we have to deal with. And rent ain't going down. Rent is going up. All right.
Yep.
All right. And it's hard to even get a house nowadays, even when you got pristine credit. I mean, because if your income is not where it needs to be, then sorry, you can't rent here. You definitely can't buy here.
Yep.
So what's the alternative? Got people who, we're going to be putting people on the streets. Now, these empty government buildings that you're talking about, hey, turn them into a homeless shelter. God knows we're going to need them. Right? And you're taking kids who yesterday had security and a place to sleep and food to eat. Where 6 months from now they might not have that. They might not have that security. That's gonna trickle down. That's gonna hurt their ability. That's gonna hurt them educationally, emotionally, stability wise, all that stuff. All right. Yeah. Once again, I'm not against tightening the belts and being conservative when it comes to making sure that our government efficiency and spending is regulated, all right, and we're getting the most out of these federal departments and everything that are taking care of people, all right. But at the same time, there should have been, it could have been done better. It should have been done better. All right. Now, make it do what it do.
I was going to say about 10 different things, and I'll try to be quick with them. And let me just reiterate, and it sounds cold, but if you're in a federal job, the government isn't a jobs program. It's not a jobs program. It's not. So, at any moment, your federal job, especially certain things, could be terminated, and because it's no longer necessary, no longer needed. And I don't know why it's some sort of special thing or some sort of you paint this giant picture here of the world crashing and everything burning to the ground. For the individuals, yes, it's terrible. And I'm not trying to minimize that, especially when it's personal to you, but yes, everybody, no, because I've lived it myself. The private sector goes through this and 10 times worse. And I don't know how else to say it, but sometimes government and its bloated control of everything and all these departments is causing all these problems you're describing. The increasing costs and all these things that are going on, or the regulations and things that are moving. All this stuff ties in just like what you said. And we're trying to get all that crap out of the way, because that is what has got its foot on the American citizen. Maybe not for that employee that works at that department, but what that department's doing is not what the American citizen wants. It's not. It's what the government wants, and maybe it's funding the government or pushing political things. But the average citizen is okay with this. I'm telling you right now. And you can come to terms with it or not. I honestly, I hope you guys keep going crazy. When I say you guys, the Democrats who are, they're not wising up yet. They don't know what just happened in this election. I think there needs to be a push back to the middle and start getting reasonable again. But people they're doubling down on crazy. So I don't know that I want you to stop. I want you to just keep, doing this, because it's not as many people agree with you and think like you do and are feeling the effects of what's going on. But a lot of these people are going to feel the effects of these departments being removed and the expenses being removed and all these things removing regulation and whatnot. Elon Musk was picked not because he creates jobs, but because he goes into existing things, or when he creates a business out of nothing, he goes in there and removes the fat. And he does it quickly. You say, there's no thought here. I agree with you in one thing. You can't just come in on Monday and terminate people on Tuesday, even though that's kind of what he did with a lot of his departments. And I tell you what, it removed a lot of issues, a lot of problem, and a lot of people who would probably have gotten in the way of what they were trying to accomplish. But in essence, he was like, go home, and if we don't miss you for 2 weeks, don't come back. We'll let you know whether you can come back or not. And that's pretty much kind of how he did with Twitter. Some of these companies that he runs have grown slowly over time, but he's successful, and he's the richest man in the world. He doesn't really care. He doesn't need this. I mean, it's like, oh, he's doing all this so he can get. He doesn't need anything. The guy. How are you gonna make a guy like that? I don't know. I just feel like it's ridiculous, and most people are laughing about it. Actually, this whole whatever the billionaires and the Bernie Sanders guys going off on all this stuff. He was picked because of the fact that he knows how to go in places. And using technology, really, really iron down on what is what, who's what, where's the money going, and then and start getting that information out. Elon Musk has no power to do anything. He can't fire anybody. He can't remove anybody. All he can do is make recommendations and expose things. And any of these departments that don't want people coming in there and getting and exposing their numbers or who's doing what, or any employees that I don't want to tell you what I'm doing, or you don't have any business. You're like, this isn't the private sector. This is the public sector. And you better, all I can tell you is if you're worried about that and you're in a public sector job or a government job, maybe it's time to start looking elsewhere, at least for the next 4 years. Now, I can't tell you what'll happen, when the next president comes in. Hell, Trump may have God knows what happened in the next 2 years, and then the entire Congress changes over. And then we're back to doing whatever the other direction. But if the Democrats keep going down this path and they don't wise up on what they're prioritizing, and they're not listening to the American public in large, then they're going to continue to be going crazy and losing it and blowing up things, and it's just going to backfire on them. That's my view, and I hope they do, actually. Some of them are it's I'm like, yes, keep that up, put her on the news, keep it going. A lot of these types are going to get removed is what's going to happen. They're going to get primaried. They're going to get primaried out, and then there's going to be people that come in there that are actually smarter and more sensible. They're still going to want to push all the garbage that they normally push, but they better find a better way to do it. And they're not going to be able to run all this stuff through the government, at least while Trump's in there, like they've been doing it, funding this, pushing these certain types of priorities or policies. They'll run it through everything. The Department of Treasury is doing this and that. Money's being funneled through the education department to push things that have nothing to do with educating your kids. And so, anyway, I just think that the government is, regarding people, having bad experiences from the government doing things. We just got through what I consider a president and an administration that basically called me a terrorist because of the things I believe in my pro-America stance. They basically put people in jail for praying outside. It was an attack on Americans, and they were using the levers of government and the FBI and all this to go after churches. So, I'm sorry that I don't feel as sorry about this for Democrats. You voted for all that. Obama said you have consequences for elections. He said that to our faces as he was about to unleash all the things he unleashed. So it's not that you're not going to feel the pain, but there are election consequences. And right now, the lever is over here. It's over here. We had it over here, and it's swinging this way. How far it'll go, I don't know. But right now, some of the things that are going on, they're not a shock. They're not a mystery. I don't know why anybody's on the left is like, oh my God, they're just trying to make it into some sort of end of the world thing because they don't know what else to do. The American public voted for this. Donald Trump ran on it. They're doing exactly what he said he was going to do. And the thing I will agree with you real quick, this last thing, and I'll turn it back over, is the compassion part of this. There needs to be a component where, and I think there actually is laws in place. Some of these judges are actually upholding federal law that says you can't just go in and, clean house here. You got to figure out. But part of me is also, well, if we don't need a department anymore, let's say, I don't know, something comes along and we have all the power we could ever want in the world. Do we need a Department of Energy anymore? Or how big should it be? I mean, there needs to be, the executive branch needs to be able to do what it wants to do. Otherwise, we don't have a government. We have a judicial branch that runs everything, pretty much, and a fourth unelected branch that just gets in there and stays in there forever and can't be removed, apparently. And that's what it feels like. You got people that have been in these places for 20 years. They feel like they run the nation. They're the ones in control. What is the president going to come? He can't tell me what to do. And these folks are bucking up and they don't like it because it's the gravy train they've had, or it's the power positions of power they've had. The janitors and all that stuff you're speaking of, man, it's a nice soliloquy or whatever you want to call it to put that in there. Those are real people. But again, this is all theoretical, like what you're talking about. I just explained to you, there's 3 million federal workers. Something like less than 200,000 of them have been laid off or chose to quit on their own. Just like all these cuts they're making to the government, it's very small right now. They're exposing a lot, but they really haven't done a lot. So it's just being blown up. And the reason it's being blown up is because they don't want this to continue, because it's going to start destroying all the stuff that's in place that keeps this big bloated, fat, stealing, controlling government going. And there's a lot of people that actually are in these positions that make a lot of money or use the government to funnel money here and there and all this. And that's going to come to an end. And there's people that's their gravy train, and they just don't like it. So if they can come at it politically, they're going to do it. They're going to come at it whatever works. If they need to organize people protesting in right-wing districts as if we're going to, all these are right-wingers at this protest or whatever, and you can look and I don't even know who these people are. It's hilarious to me, man. But keep it up. Keep at it. Keep going, man. And the sad thing is I don't think we're going to see nearly the carnage and all whatever that a lot of us actually want. When I say carnage, the actual cuts, the actual things that are going on are not going to actually happen to the degree. Just like they're not going to remove 20 million illegals from here. What they're going to get away with or try to do is remove the bad people, the crooks. And they're trying to stop us from doing that. It's insane to me. So I don't know. That's my last word on it. The federal firings, it's not a lot. And I don't think it's going to be. There might be entire departments that go away like USAID that they're just lost. I don't know what they're going to do to the FBI. I would love to see the FBI go, because you can't have a police state department being used as a political tool against your citizens. You just can't have that and have a nation. You can't. So to me, that should be gone or leveled or whatever. But whether they can get in there and root all that stuff out or whatever, I don't know. But anyway, I feel like this is being blown up bigger than what it really is. Obviously, if you're one of the people that sent in your 5 things or couldn't come up with 5 things that you did this week, or you're having to go to work and you were enjoying that you didn't have to go to work, you could work from home for the last 2 years, and that's real to you. I mean, it's real to you. Just like it's real to me for 18 months. Because the government decided to do this or that to me back in 2012. Elections have consequences. That's what Obama told me. That was his answer to me. I remember that straight up, and I remember everything that Biden said the last 4 years. So I'm sorry. It swings both ways. The government came after me, came after mine, came after a lot of people the last 4 years. Actually, a lot longer than that, if you want to be honest with you. And they just weren't hiding it at all then. And they did it so hard and so heavy and so nasty that if you absolutely hate Donald Trump and everything he stands for, you're going to get that. And the next one will be worse than Trump if they do this all over again. They push it, whatever, come after it. You'll get somebody worse than Trump. But that's my worst, that's my view on it. And it's a good subject. I think it was a great subject because, we are near the base here. And, I don't know if anybody learned anything or, whatever, but I'll turn it back over to you, man. You put your hand up. I apologize. We got a good subject today. I want to get into them. Let's do it.
All right. Next up, we have the welfare hypocrisy, which kind of bleeds in from our first topic here. So I think we can be a little bit brief here. I did a little research,
Really?
I'm not quoting the number off the top of my head. I think 43% of the people that are on welfare are white people. And I think the percentage of black people who are on welfare is like maybe half that. All right,
Yep.
but the hypocrisy is the perception is that it's black folks or minorities or non-white folks who are taking advantage of the welfare programs, and you hear the rhetoric and everything in the zeitgeist. Get a job and
Yeah.
do you got money to get your hair done, but you won't go out and get a job, and that's kind of bullshit, which is nonsense. All right, so I'm gonna take a quick deep dive here, then I'm gonna let you say what you gotta
Sure.
say. All
Sure,
right,
man.
I grew up on welfare and food stamps. All right, I grew up in the projects, the Randall Heights projects in Warner Robins, Georgia. All right, broke off my ass. All right, and my family broke off their ass.
Yep.
All right, welfare and food stamps kept us alive, kept us fed. All right,
Yep.
all right, and and I am a product of that. But without that, God only knows what would have happened to my family. All right. Fast forward now, present day. All right. I'm a college degree. I have a college degree. Never been in trouble in my life. Never done any drugs. Never been arrested. So on and so forth. Make six figures.
Veteran,
Doing well.
military service.
Homeowner. Got two kids in college. Living the American dream. All right. It was five kids. I had three brothers and a sister. So it was five of us total as far as the kids. All of us. High school graduates, whatever. Never been in trouble. Or none of our families are on welfare. Um,
Good.
we've all done well in our lives. All right. And a lot of folks that I grew up with in the same housing project have the same story.
Good.
All right. All right. The peers that I grew up with, homeowners, college graduates, so on and so forth, business owners, everything, you know, PhDs. All right. All came from that same impoverished situation that welfare and food stamps, helped
Right.
us. So we are a success story when it comes to what welfare and food stamps were there for. All right, is to help you survive and move to a new station in life.
Yeah.
All right, it's not a white thing, it's not a black thing, it's not a Democrat, not a Republican thing. All right, and coming from the environment that I came from, once again, I'm only speaking from personal experience, so I can't say that my experience mirrors everybody else's experience.
Right.
But I was thinking about it. Everybody that I grew up before as a peer that I know of, every last one of them, all right, are graduates basically from this program who have gone on to have successful, strong lives. And I think that is what it's about. All right. But people seem to put this stigma on minorities and mostly black folk that we take advantage of the welfare food stamp program. All right. All right. And that it's something that should be done away with. Get a job. I don't want to pay for your. I'm on my tax-paying dollars to pay for you to get your hair done or whatever. All right,
Yeah.
which is a bunch of nonsense. And then to recognize the fact that more white people have always been on welfare and food stamps than black people, always. All right, but nobody talks about them taking advantage of the situation. Nobody talks about them get a job and stop taking it and stop living off the fat of taxpayers. But you're hearing about the minorities, and I'm sure there are white stories that mirror mine that came from nothing and used that program as 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 a tool to help them become productive tax-paying American citizens. So as a graduate of that program, I am all fucking for it because
Yeah.
I've seen the impact of it. I know what it can do. I hated being on welfare. I hated food stamps as a kid.
Yeah.
Hated it, but I understood that we needed it. Right?
Yeah.
And my number one ambition in life, right, was to never have to be in that situation and to work my ass off to make sure that me and mine never have to experience that type of an upbringing and that type of despair that comes with it. So if nothing else, I think it's a great tool that motivates people. Because I grew up around people who are motivated to go to a different station in life, work their asses off, work 2 or 3 different jobs, or join the military, so on and so forth, get the GI Bill, so they can go to college and do whatever they're doing. All right. So the hypocrisy needs to stop. You'll never get anywhere with me, okay, pushing any other narrative. Because I've been there, seen it work, and I know it works. Of course, in any situation, any program, there will be people, a percentage of people who take advantage of it. That's just the way of goddamn life. All right. There are people who are at the top levels of government who are taking advantage and stealing and so on and so forth. All right. You can go to any business. There's somebody scraping some cream off the top. All right. All right. So to drill it down and just say this one segment of society is taking advantage of this program, all right, and it needs to be done away with, is a bunch of bullshit. And there's no argument you could ever give me, all right, to dissuade me from what I've experienced and seen with my own 2 eyes. Go.
Let me just clarify some things that you said by you telling me. You said you had a lot of people that lived near you or grew up around you that kind of came out of it like you did. Is that what you said to me? Is that what you mean?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you have friends that, they're the same age or whatever, and they're not on welfare now, and they came out of it.
The project, man, so everybody around me was just as broke as I was. So that's
But
all I knew.
You're talking
Everybody
about
in my periphery was flat ass broke.
Right, I got you. And you're saying these are the people you're mentioning have come out of it, correct? I mean, I'm good. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me preface this by saying the topic that you said was the welfare hypocrisy. I wasn't sure what you meant, but the way you explained it to me was that, in your view, I guess white folks, or maybe black folks too, I don't know, have this perception that it's mostly black people on welfare, and that the black people are abusing welfare more than the white people, or something like. I guess that's the hypocrisy. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I don't see black folks going on TV saying that, or on social media, or wherever, saying that black folks are taking advantage of the welfare program. It's white folk. All right.
Right.
100%.
I got you. Well, I did look up some polls on this, and you can take polls with a grain of salt, but the polls seem to confirm what you thought they would confirm, in that most people polled thought there's there's more black people on welfare, or that it's abused more by certain races, and that was a poll that did include black people as well. I mean, there were several polls. I don't want to. So I guess I agree with you in this. Okay, number one, in the hypocrisy of it. Well, not hypocrisy. The perception. Because I guess I never found a poll that said otherwise. First of all, so I would assume when you have 4 or 5 polls and they were different times too. It wasn't like they were all done last week or something. Here's the thing, and I think this is the thing that's a bigger subject, and probably where the meat on the bone is. You're right. I got the number 42% of whites, of people on welfare, or let me call it, we're calling it welfare. There's so much. It's this complex subject. I mean, you got TANF, SNAP, SSI, you got, with food stamps, it goes into, I guess, with SNAP or something like that. I mean, you have Medicaid. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can say are welfare or government assistance. So I mean, there's going to be, in the aggregate, millions and millions of people on government assistance, welfare. So you have 29 million whites out of 340 million whites, which is 42%. And then you have 16 million blacks out of 340 million 340 million citizens. That's 23%. So in raw numbers, there's no doubt. I mean, I don't know why anybody would be shocked that there's more white people on government assistance than black people. There's just, there's a lot more white people, period, but there's 29 million of them versus 16 million of black. The problem is there's only it's the percentage of black people that are on aid. That's where the figure's larger. And I'm not saying it's because they're bad people or something. It's just in the aggregate, more in percentage, there's more black people that are there's more black people on assistance than there are white people in their demographic. Does that make sense to you? Do you even know what I'm saying?
Yeah, hey,
Yeah, 14% of all whites are on
I'm a college
government.
graduate. I'm smart. Okay?
Right, 14% of all whites are on government assistance. 37% of blacks are on assistance. You see what I'm saying? So it's a larger percentage of them. And I think what would be better is to figure out why. Now, I mean, we've gone down some of the paths why you think maybe that is. And I mean, the evil racism word comes flying out all the time. But it's more complex than just you being black, me being white, and the world hates black people. I mean, there's a lot of cultural things and things that lead into this. I can tell you that I am glad that you grew up where you did if you had to be on welfare, because there are places that I think if Alonzo was on welfare and he lived there, your outcome may not have been the same, brother. And I feel like every day I look back at like my dad and how my mom and my dad met, and how he took her out of where she was growing up and the places that, because he was in the military. I just think my life would have been different if she had not met my dad and I was, the son of somebody from where she grew up. So it is something I think that civilized society should have some sort of safety net. I'm for it, and a lot of times that used to be churches doing that, or just people, forming their own groups that raise money to help, and we still do that as a country. I mean, you know what I mean? We do that already. I'm just going to say this. I don't know why a larger percentage of blacks, because I can go into what I think, but these are the things that get really hard to talk about because folks start immediately going into it's racism or it's unfair or whatever, instead of looking at hard things. And, some of that is definitely happening, but is it happening to the tune of 37% of all? That's hard for me to accept. So I guess there's no doubt that there's a perception of that, of what you're talking about. Is there hypocrisy? Do I feel like more black people abuse it than white people? I don't know if I ever thought of it that way. Maybe there are people that do think that. I didn't find a poll that said it that way. Like they abuse it. I will say this, especially now that we're trying to cut the government and cut back on things. If you can find ways to prevent people of whatever color from buying 24 packs of beer or 1,000 things that probably are not sustenance or nutritional need or whatever. If there's, we've gotten to the point now where almost everything can be scanned. I don't know. Then these are the kind of things that I think that I can get behind, because then I'm not funding someone's drinking problem. I'm funding.
You can't buy cigarettes or alcohol with food stamps.
Right, or things like that. But I mean, there's ways around that. Alonzo, please don't be naive, my brother. Don't be naive, my brother. And I'm not saying it's black people. There's states that are entire states that don't have very many black people in them. That there's waste and fraud, and it goes on all over the place. So I don't know if this is something that's just. I'm not sure why you picked this subject, other than there are cuts coming. And I will say this. I don't know how big Medicaid is in the budget. It's huge. Stuff like that, and Social Security and Medicare and things like that, where we're dumping 14% of our paycheck into it, and then we get to the point where we need it. Oh, we don't have the money, or we're cutting it back, or that stuff is actually coming. And again, once we start seeing people having to cut back in their own lives, tremendously, and to a point where it hurts to try to fund other people, and they do see something, waste, fraud, or it just gets magnified, even if even just the appearance of it, or the even if it appears that way. So I don't know. I don't know if there's an uptick in this or something going on, maybe from the left wing or from Democrats. Maybe they're pushing this, or maybe you're seeing it yourself. I don't know. I don't. It's not something. I don't think that this administration is going to be touching Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, or any of that stuff. They're just not going to. In fact, for Social Security, what Trump wants to do, you and I aren't too far away from it. Maybe 10 years out, we'll be getting our checks, hopefully, if they have any money left, where they don't tax you. I mean, the government takes this money from you, holds it for God knows how long, when you could have had it in something, gaining interest, and then it taxes you when you go to take it out. It's insane. I don't even know what the rate is, but it's insane. So maybe they take it out based on if you're whatever your income level. I mean, like let's say I don't know, maybe you're making $200K at 65 with a really good job, and then you go to get your Social Security, which you have the right for, and they go, well, we're going to tax you at 38%, further smashing the money that you put in there when you could have had that somewhere sitting gaining interest. So I don't see this administration going after it, and frankly, Republicans are just too scared. It would be devastating politically to attack these programs or whatever, or go after them, even though I'm going to tell you to your face, we're going to have to do something about them at some point. You can't just keep having these things are a massive part of our government outlay, and they're just growing, and people are living longer, and it's just, I'm not saying we shouldn't live longer, I'm glad, but the amount of money that's being doled out for Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, which I want mine, just like you want yours, I'm entitled to it, right? Well, they're going to be telling us, well, we just don't have it, or it's the country's going broke. And what I want to know is, where is it? Where did it go? I put it in there, right? So it just goes into the general fund, and then it goes to, fund intergenerational sex changes in Guatemala or wherever the hell else it goes. So if somebody is abusing this system, a person like you who benefited from it should be doubly mad about it, in my opinion. I think I would be. I would say, do you feel like welfare is the reason you got out of welfare, and became independent of it, or was it some other factor? I'm not. It's not a joke question. I'm not trying to be a jerk. Yeah, because you rose out of it, and that's great.
It was a huge part of it, man. Huge part of it. I mean, because once again, I understood our lot in life, all right, and I understood the shame and embarrassment that comes along with it. I mean, and that was a feeling that I didn't feel good. I didn't feel good about feeling. So I knew I had to get myself out of that as quickly as possible and never go back. And that's things
let
like
me
that
follow up.
me to this day. What?
Let me follow up then. If they make welfare more accepted, more normalized, more give you more and more of it, would you be as motivated to get out of it? Would the stigma? I mean, it sounds like the stigma of it, and I want to say shame, but you had pride. You had pride. Hey, man, I don't want to have. I want to make it on my own. And
Yeah, first of all,
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's what it seems like.
no, let me put some words in your mouth. Because first of all, it was never a whole lot of money. Okay, never a whole lot of money. It wasn't the kind of money you can do anything with. We were barely making it. We were still out of food. Like, for example, we would get food stamps and welfare, so on and so forth. All right, and I say probably the last third of the month, we're hungry, we're starving. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. We couldn't buy enough food to feed a family of 5 for 30 days, but you got it once. You got it first of the month, but it wasn't enough to carry you for the full 30 days. So we still had to rely on other things to help us survive. Right. All right. So it's not like this perception that this big pool of money that we're getting and that we're living like high on the hog. Let me tell this quick story. I know we're out of time. Let me tell this quick story, man. That will kind of crystallize everything for me.
Sure.
I had a friend on social media, so white guy. he posted something on Facebook or whatever about he was at a grocery store or whatever and saw this lady, nice nails, hair, and everything, spending food stamps at the register. And he follows her outside to the parking lot. She gets into a Mercedes and drives away. He was hella pissed by that. So he made this generalization about this incident.
Okay.
I asked him, you know where she got the car from? It could have been a family member or a friend who gave her the car. It could have been a program that gifted the car to her. Maybe she had to get her hair and nails done because she had a job interview the next day.
Yeah.
I mean,
true.
but,
All that's true.
but he's a white guy who works hard for his money, and they never been on welfare, pays taxes and everything. He saw that and he's made this rash generalization about the whole welfare program and black people. All right, but you don't know. Okay, you remember the Ford LTD? A friend of my mom, all right, who had a little bit, gave her a Ford LTD. All right. And we lived in the projects, but she had a nice Ford LTD that was given to her by someone who was generous. All right. Welfare money didn't pay for that. So that made me think about my situation. And I'm thinking, so if he made that generalization about us, I'm gonna make a generalization about white folk. That white folk look at that.
Hold on. I didn't make a generalization. I just wanted to ask you what you think brought you out of it, or if the situation had been, you're telling me. So this is it. I'm not saying, if you were in a different place, maybe, there would be different reasons that you would come out of it or wouldn't come out of it. I don't know. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I abhorred.
Right.
Okay. I don't think anybody likes being in poverty. Okay, so
right.
I'm not
That's
new
a
to the
good thing.
situation.
That's a good thing
I'm
to
not
be.
an outlier here,
Yeah.
but it was just something that really, really just kind of resonated with me. All right,
Yeah.
and having this guy who's no longer my friend, I unfriended his fucking ass, to say that brought everything crashing down on me as far as just the realization of how, if he feels this way, there's a lot of the white folks who feel the exact same way. They see something and make this assumption or generalization about the whole welfare program. So what I said to him is, you'd have been okay with it. She got into a 1972 Gremlin, you know what I mean, with smoke coming out of the back of and drove away. You would have felt better about yourself. If she showed that, if she looked broke. So I guess the thing is, if you are broke, you better look broke. All right.
Well,
all right. But you can't be broke, all right, and try to make it and paint a better picture of yourself so that you can get ahead in life.
right.
All right. And that was the point that I tried to make to this person that did not see, and that's why this person no longer my friend. But I wanted to make sure I shared that little story. So go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just going to close by saying it's human nature to look at things around you and then come to a picture. It's not always accurate, and sometimes you're wrong. And I'm not saying this about black, white. I mean, just, you see a person in line or whatever, and they're, maybe they're a millionaire, but they're wearing, God knows what. You're like, God, what is this dude? He needs to get a shower. I mean, so it's trends or seeing this all the time. I think back in the day, you could clearly see racism. I told you the story. You can clearly tell that, this person is racist. They're saying it right to the person's face, whatever. But now people can assume that the other person means something different. I don't know if the guy would have been just as upset if it would have been a white woman. Is that what you're saying? If it had been a white lady, then he would have been okay with her using the welfare checks with her nice nails and getting in her Mercedes. I mean, would he? How would you know now? You can't go back and ask a dude or whatever. I mean,
my assumption or my takeaway is she would have gotten a whole lot more grace than this black woman.
Well, see, that's your assumption. So you're assuming like the guy's assuming. I
mean,
I don't know. It's the same thing in my opinion.
I told you based on that generalization, I'm gonna make a generalization. I told you that.
Okay. Well, we do have the ability to make generalizations, and sometimes we come to conclusions, and our biases and our preconceived notions are going to come into that. I think it's always better, if in nothing else, maybe me and you talking like this, we'll be better at doing that. Maybe I will if I do see somebody in line in front of me, and I'm just based on what you're saying, and they've got TANF checks or whatever, and I'm having to wait while they get all that, and they look like they have on better clothes than me or whatever, I might, you know what, I might consider, you know what, this person might have a job interview, or maybe, you know, maybe they're doing this for their sister. I mean, there could be another reason, you know, who knows? So don't go there. And I think that's probably a good rule of thought. If there is at least by the polls, a perception that more black people are on welfare by the numbers, but it is a fact that percentage-wise, the percentage of blacks on welfare are larger, and I don't like that, and I know as a black person probably you don't like that is true. Um, so you know maybe more people will come out of it like you did, put themselves in better locations or better positions, or their families will assist. I don't know. The government can help. It should be a safety net, but it shouldn't be the answer all the time. Is where I feel about benefits, and I haven't had to use it. Thank God. There's been times where I wondered how I was going to pay my bills, but it worked out. Or you know, I got underneath for a while and had to dig out. You know, I mean, but I think most Americans have that part of their life. But to be, you know, starting from the bottom or way down like that and to be able to come out, it should, you know, that's awesome. And if you, what I'm glad that the people that paid taxes or whatever, it's nice to hear a good story, something positive from welfare or anything, Medicare, whatever. I could have never got this surgery if I didn't have Medicaid. You know what? That's awesome. That's, you know, that there was a government program that helped somebody get medical care. And, you know, my tax dollars being taken for something like that, I would rather hear a lot more of those stories. And so shame on, you know, people for pushing the other stories if there's really not a lot of that. If there is a lot of it and they can prove it, Alonzo, then you're going to have to come to terms where that this is the real. Sometimes the real sucks. And I've had to get my eyes open sometimes to the real. And you know, I don't know what the real is on this subject other than there is hypocrisy to a point and there is a perception for real. And I think this discussion was pretty good because again, maybe people won't jump to conclusions. They don't know what the real is sometimes whenever they're just assuming something. And that I think today and age in America, I think we're in a lot better shape than maybe we were, you know, at other times. But I mean, you know, financial things crash. Sometimes people who never thought they were going to rely on these things or have to deal with some of these things end up having to deal with them. And so don't think you're above it. Don't think you're above having something happen in your life to put you in a very, very bad financial situation. It can happen. So I don't think anybody should be judging other people or laughing at them. It's for the grace of God that I'm not in other people's shoes. And I am thankful. I have a lot of things I have to deal with right now in my life, but you know, I feel like I'm fairly healthy. I got great kids, and the good Lord's helping me through it, man. So God bless you for getting out of that, man, and moving on. And I don't know, maybe that section of North Side, even though it was North Side, but that section of North Side maybe just had a lot of good people that you know bonded together or formed relationships and lifted each other up. But welfare was part of that, and you say it. Who am I to say it wasn't? That's awesome. I think the next one. Go ahead and set it up. We'll keep moving.
Hey man, it's 428, man. So all right, next up, I don't know if you're aware of the story that came down about a week and a half ago about the Hazing death in Louisiana.
I did not. I was wondering why you brought this up, and I was hoping you would explain if there was something that just happened. Go ahead.
Right, a young man who was online, pledge. He was a pledge for good Lord, Q Dog. Good Lord,
It's okay, but
Omega Psi Phi.
what happened though?
Omega Psi Phi. The Q Dog. They call themselves Q Dogs.
Okay.
Anyway, the part of the hazing ritual uh, with this particular fraternity organization is that they will punch you in the chest as hard as
Right.
possible. I'm sure several guys, you know, will
Right.
punch you in the chest. So this one young man took several punches, I'm sure, to the chest and collapsed and died. All right, and they tried to cover it up, and obviously everything came to light. And my thing is, um, there are black fraternities and sororities, white fraternities and sororities. So I can't speak towards what the white frats and sororities do when it comes to hazing, but I feel that hazing in any form is barbaric, archaic, and needs to be stopped. And I think that these organizations that continue to do it because we know they still do it need to be shut down. So maybe we should shut down the whole Greek program in colleges. Period. What are your thoughts?
All right. Well, I liked this subject because I learned from it because it was something I didn't know a lot about. When I was in college, I got rushed, or whatever they call it. The different ones rush you by 4 different ones. And the reason I feel like I got rushed is because I was social with a lot of different people and met a lot of different people. And so I don't know. I guess they felt like I fit in, even though I don't. For white fraternities at Georgia College at the time is what it was called. You had kind of the rednecks, and then you had sort of like the rich. I don't know what you want to call them, face dudes or whatever you want to call them. I don't know. Then you had the nerds, and then you had what I would call just kind of like a catch-all. They didn't really like fit. But when I say rednecks, they the guys they hunting, fishing, whatever. I ain't going to go into the actual Greek letters of these ones, but I just felt friendly with a lot of these different guys, and the point of me going into this is I never really joined any of them because I didn't feel like I was all into that specific thing, and I was really just trying to get all my stuff out of the way so I could get into dental school and get on to dentistry. To be frank with you, I kind of it wasn't
Hold
the
on,
one.
hold on. I need to do something.
All right, go ahead.
The young man that died, his name is Caleb Wilson. So I wanted to at least personalize and give the guy the respect.
Okay,
Just
okay,
saying
good.
some student got killed. His name
Okay.
was Caleb Wilson. Okay,
All right.
go ahead.
All right. Well, I don't want to drag this story too much longer, but I didn't rush with any of them, but I got rushed. But I feel like the Greek fraternities and all that, it's for the ones who do feel a bond with each other, and they get, there's some really deep ties. I've run into so many different people who they still hang out with and do things with their fraternity brothers like years later. And they do a lot for each other. Like somebody passes away, they all get together and donate money or come help the widow or the kids, or it's deeper than just college after a certain point for some fraternities. So the banning of fraternities would be I think that's probably not going to happen, because the number of the deaths from hazing is, I really looked this up and I couldn't believe it. It's like less than 300, like ever, like of all times. You would think like there's 10 a year.
Whoa. One is one too many, man.
Oh, I got you.
You sent your kid to school. You sent your kid away to college.
Well, let me finish. Because I think we're on the same page here. What was the name of the guy again? The person who,
Wilson.
Yeah, say it again.
Caleb Wilson.
Okay, good. I want to make sure that you had opportunity to say his name. I don't think they're going to get rid of fraternities because the number of hazing incidences is so small, and that doesn't mean that each death, like you were saying, isn't important. What I think should be done, at least this is me just being opinion, and I think most people probably would agree, if you have these hazing rituals that are torturous or on the borderline criminal. I mean, or you're physically punching. I mean, I don't know what people think are going to happen. You're going to get the wrong guy in there who has, maybe he's been taking testosterone, maybe he's on some kind of supplements, and he's an athlete, and you're pounding on his heart or something like that. Stupid, very stupid. I'm not even sure what that would signify in the ritual. There's probably some reason for that, but those fraternities, if they're going to continue to do that, are going to find that they will be shut down. And because these things have been going on like that for probably decades, it's going to be hard for them to do that because they don't want to change what they think is historical. I'm not saying they shouldn't, and I want them to, and I think it's be smart to do it. But
Well, I
so
think the remedy, I think the remedy right now, man, right quick, is to hit the national headquarters of the fraternity with a huge ass fine.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And obviously the victim, he can sue. I don't know how far that could go. I mean, it's well, he agreed to be in the ritual. Yeah, but I don't think he agreed to die. I don't think he agreed
No,
to have his heart
exactly.
be punched out.
Exactly. There's no
Yeah, I mean,
justification for that.
yeah, I don't think that maybe they don't even know what's going to happen. I mean, I knew some of these guys that did go through the rituals or whatever, these various, and then they can't tell you everything, but I would say, well, did you know it was going to happen? They're like, no.
Think
And
about it like this, man.
and they don't tell
Think
you
about,
because it's a secret, but they were like, no, I had no clue what was going to go on there. So,
think about it like this,
um,
man. And you work in the medical field. If you got hit in
yep,
your chest 20 times in a row,
yeah,
okay, the chance of your heart stopping are pretty good, right?
yeah.
I'm not a
Well,
medical
it's
person, but I'm
it's
sure
not it's
the
not a
chances of
good
you
thing
having
to
a
be
heart
doing
attack
that.
are greatly increased, right?
Right. And
Okay.
and then each guy's going to be like, I hit him harder, or I hit him harder than you did, and that the whole one-upman thing or whatever. It just seems crazy. There's 750,000 students in any one year that are in fraternities. And so for there to only be a death every 1 or 2 years, now I think that it's probably grossly understated how many people actually get hurt, though. Um, so you can get mad about it. Again, I'm getting to the real. I agree with you on a lot of this. I'm not saying that you're wrong or whatever. I'm just saying this is how it plays out when these groups all have to go to court, or they're they can show how safe everything is or whatever. But if you actually had someone film that and show it to the public, the public would react terribly, and they would be like, yeah, you guys should be shut down. And that's what's going to happen. That's what's coming. Because you're in the age now where people can film things or get a hold of things or whatever, or admit to things or whatever. So,
Well, they fucked up because they tried to cover it up. They
yeah,
took them to the emergency room, and I think they said they just found them that way.
they're
They lied
probably
about it.
it's probably underreported how many people actually, because they probably do have situations where people report, oh, we were out biking, or we were doing, and he fell, crap like that.
Yeah.
Let me further do this for you. I don't know how many there were from actual blunt force trauma, or what I would call torture. Most of the rituals that have deaths involve alcohol, and that's kind of sad because that's totally what you're getting someone inebriated, or getting them, I don't know. It just seems like, what could you possibly use alcohol to be ritualistic that would signify anything? I don't know. It just seems crazy to me. So, I mean, I did do some in-depth stuff on this. I don't want to go over all the data, but what I realized is that the reported deaths on this was super small. I thought there would be like 200 a year or something, or more maybe, but there just isn't. And I didn't realize that almost 1 million people were in fraternities at any one time, which seems like a lot to me, but I didn't realize that. So those are the kind of things I learned. And then what I'd learned was what most people die from. And it was overwhelmingly alcohol, which is wild. I didn't realize that. And this is going back, the 200 total I found goes back to like a long way, like in the 1800s. So a lot of this is either isn't reported, or it's very, very, very. What also could be happening is colleges are just finding ways to make it go away, paying it off. I don't know, but I don't know how you would do that.
I mean, there are a lot of different ways I guess you could haze to where it's not something that is life threatening, like getting squatted with a paddle on your
Like
bare
for
behind.
instance,
You know,
yeah, that, or they had them wear things on their head, or these stupid
yeah,
signs, or they had to go around and get girls to sign something, something embarrassing to
yeah.
show you're committed. I mean, I get the whole idea behind it. You're showing you're committed and you're willing to go through all the whatever to become one of the
Not
brothers.
punching me in my chest where my
Yeah,
vital organ,
right. I don't
my
think
most
most
vital
people want
organ
to,
is.
like, you might die. Are you that committed?
Yeah.
That's a little bit much. And I think that parents probably don't know that's going on, whatever else. Although a lot of these guys that are in there, their dad was in, and and their grandpa was in. I mean, you'd be surprised. It's pretty wild. So anyway, alcohol poisoning was the biggest killer, and I'm not saying that makes it better. It's just terrible. I think that I did look up to see if there was any laws, and there's a ton of stuff. there's some states have better laws against this than others. There was some anti-hazing legislation. I don't know how much of this stuff is actually pushed, but some states, they make it a felony. So I bet it probably went away there, or they're having to really, really change the way they do
They
things.
need to find the national chapter of Omega Sci-Fi $10 million.
Yeah, Louisiana only requires that you report and that you take educational something or other to get your fraternity approved. They don't have any kind of like, right, they don't have any like, so that it happened there isn't shocking because there's probably not, there's not much to stop them from doing it. So that's the state level stuff. I don't know, federal levels, I mean, I don't think there's much federal level stuff going on. I mean, they're dealing with bigger things, although, I mean, the federal could be involved in this. I think it would probably help a lot, but especially since all these colleges receive tons of federal money. There's ways to push that into the situation. All right, let's move on to I don't know if you want to wrap that up. I don't want to cut it off if you're not.
I've said my piece.
I think we're on the same page here in that something should be done about it. It's a shame that young man had to die. I'd be, if I was a parent, it would be my life's work to come after that. There's no good reason to have that be something. How committed are you?
I'm suing each individual. I'm suing the school. I'm suing the state. I'm suing every fucking body.
It would be my life's work to make that go away so somebody else's kid doesn't get punched to death in the chest. Or for honestly, if I could find out that they made him drink an entire, half gallon of alcohol to prove that he's committed, and that ended up, killing him.
Do anything that's life threatening to join a fucking fraternity or sorority.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. So I just never joined. I didn't.
One thing.
Yeah. I'm not against it. I think it can be a wonderful thing, to be in fraternities or groups like that. I think, there's a really, really tight brotherhood. Maybe some of the hazing and going through all that helps with that connection, but it shouldn't be life threatening.
Hey,
I just don't think.
I was in probably one of the world's or the country's biggest fraternities, the United States Air Force. We got hazed.
Yeah.
It wasn't,
I don't doubt it.
It wasn't anything that's life threatening. We had to do a lot of sit up, push ups, run, that kind of stuff. We got yelled and screamed at. That's kind of haze that I'm okay with.
Yeah.
But they never made do anything that was life threatening. Okay.
Yeah. They didn't have 4 or 5 drill sergeants come up and punch you with all their force into your chest repeatedly.
Right.
Let's see what you're made out of. Terrible, man. All right, this LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith thing, I'm going to set it up because I'm not into this like you are. So I'm going to say this like a guy who doesn't watch a ton of basketball from the outside, who has almost no, because I think a lot of the listeners are going to be like me, maybe. I think over the years, Stephen A. and LeBron have had their back and forth moments. But the reason what we're bringing up here is maybe you tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, LeBron James in the third quarter of one of the games he was in, got up and went right over to Stephen A. Smith during the game and got in his face. And I'll get into why he got into his face, what it was about, but it was obviously not a friendly discussion, and you could tell Stephen A. was like, oh, and LeBron, he's, I don't know how tall he is. Stephen A. is not a really big dude. I mean, there's just a giant size disparity there, and it became a 2 or 3 day thing where Stephen A. and then LeBron are talking about what happened, and what the way I look at this is Stephen A. Smith is I don't want to say I'm a fan because I don't know if I'm a fan, but he has a really big personality, bombastic. He has strong opinions. He's very theatrical. He can deliver his whatever he's talking about almost like an actor who has read his part, and he can just deliver it. His job seems to be to create debate, attract viewers. He's going to try to attract viewers with the headline, or whatever. And his strong stances on athletes and picking on them or having, his opinions. And he's not just in sports now anymore. He's doing political and everything else. I think that it lifted him up to where he's at. I mean, he has become, his resume is pretty big. I don't know whether to say he's wrong on this or not for two reasons. But let me go into what happened. Basically, one night, this is what I thought happened. He was some things led up to this. LeBron James' son is Bronny, I think is his name. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Bronny.
right, obviously he's going to have a lot of press and a lot of. He played basketball, in high school. He did eventually go to college. He's the son of LeBron James, and he's playing basketball. So there's going to be a lot of hype, a whole lot of watching him, and there's a lot of pressure, if you ask me, to be LeBron James' son playing basketball. And at times LeBron was, hey, my son's good, and he sort of like lifting him up to a level that maybe he hasn't proven himself to in the eyes of some. And I think Stephen A. over time had been kind of saying that, I think, when was it that he moved to the Heat, LeBron, the Miami Heat?
That was back in like 2010 or something like that. It was a long time ago.
All right. Well, that's when this seemed to like all start, because Stephen A. said, hey, he's moving to the Miami, kind of like a self-serving thing. But anyway, LeBron, to understand why LeBron got as angry as he did, in my opinion, he's Bronny's dad. And at this point now, LeBron James' son Bronny had gone, he was well sought after, supposedly, after high school, but he did end up going to college, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And then he was selected to be in the NBA, and a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, there were those who said, well, he's good, but he's not as good as LeBron thinks he is. And the fact that LeBron James is his dad and LeBron has a lot of power based on his star power and his ties into the NBA and whatnot, that he can sort of, daddy's helping Bronny get into these locations and stuff. So one night, I don't remember how long ago, but Stephen A. Basically said he was doing one of his bombastic things about the gameplay of Bronny at one of these basketball games, and he wasn't doing well, and he'd been doing a segment about how bad Bronny was playing, and he basically was tying it into the fact that the only reason that they're letting him play or pushing him out there is because LeBron James was pushing for his son to be able to continue playing, rather than maybe somebody else getting that spot or taking him out. And so Stephen A. said, as a father, I'm begging you to take him out, or something like that, something to that effect. And whenever LeBron heard, as a father, he took that serious. I mean, he took that as a personal attack on what kind of dad he was. And he was checking LeBron on how, as he's criticizing LeBron as a father. I think it was something like, I'm begging you to put an end to this, LeBron, as a father. I'm begging you to put an end to this. And so LeBron's agent, said that Stephen A. was out of line. And, I don't know if a lot of people, I don't know the whole history, and I don't think LeBron had a very good relationship, or did he even know his dad? I mean, a lot of these guys in the NBA, not a lot, but some of them grow up without fathers, and then you start, when they are trying to be the best fathers they can be because they didn't have their dad, you start checking them on that. It's a personal attack. They take that even to another level. That's just my saying from the outside, perhaps. So I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about that other than this. So Stephen A. is always like, he talks like he's like, I don't know, like he knows UFC or something. Like, he talks big. He's like, anybody wants to say anything to me, you know where I'm at. I go to the games. Come on up, say something. I'm there. I'll talk to you. So LeBron had a chance to go talk to him. He went over and got in his face. And to me, watching the clip, Stephen A. was like, I don't want to say scared, but it wasn't like he was going to raise hands or something. It caught him a little off guard, and I think it embarrassed him, honestly. a little bit. But anyway, so I think if Stephen A had left out the father thing, as a father part of it, then him criticizing the gameplay of Bronny's fine. Bronny's in the NBA, and him saying, hey, they need to take him out. He's just not performing. Whatever. Just leave the LeBron's dad part of it out of it, or at least if you're going to go down that thing, maybe have a different segment or a different thing on your opinion on that, and be ready for LeBron to come back at you about that, because you're basically, questioning him being a father. Do I believe Bronny probably got some personally? Do I believe he probably got some special treatment because his dad's LeBron James? I do. It's a lot of pressure whenever you get that special treatment and then you're actually having to perform at that level. So I kind of feel bad for the kid more than anybody, because if your dad does open these doors for you and put you in these situations, then you try your best and you can't live up to the expectations. It's a lot. It's a lot, man. And I don't know that I would want Stephen A, on my shoulder, bitching about it or whatever. Because, in a way, he does this stuff. He's trying to start the controversy. If LeBron had come over and just punched him right there, would that have been good? No, I don't. That would have been bad. If it happened, it would have been good for TV and probably good for ratings. Stephen A, to me, is a loudmouth. He's good at that. He's good at what he does in a lot of ways. I don't always agree with his opinions, but he's just really good at doing that. So that's why his on-air personality has gotten so huge. Is he right about this? It was a dick thing to say, and he I don't know that he was really actually trying to say LeBron's a bad dad. I don't think he meant it exactly like that. I really don't think he meant it that way, but he did say it that way, the way he said it, and I can see why LeBron got mad about it. And probably in the future, I don't see Stephen A going down that path the same way, but maybe he'll just be a jerk and test LeBron again. I don't know. To me, I think Stephen A was wrong to handle it, to say it that way, but he's not wrong about the overall whatever opinion. My opinion is more about, I can see why LeBron got mad, knowing how, I don't think he had a father. I don't know all about his growing up and everything like that. I do know a little bit about how Bronny got into the NBA and all that, just from the outside, from a non-basketball finding person. That seems to be the beef. Whatever their beefs were before that, there was, this stuff goes back to 2010, little stuff here and there, but I don't think it ever got quite as serious until Stephen A said the comment about the father. So anyway, I'm turning it back over to you. That's from the white guy. I think Stephen A should just try to form his words better whenever, think a little bit more about things like that, but he's not wrong, in my opinion. All right, go ahead.
Okay, a lot to unpack here. First of all, Stephen A is 100% right. All right. Okay, I'm gonna say this by saying I am not a Stephen A fan. All right, understand what he does, and he's good at what he does, all of this stuff. But he was absolutely right in this particular scenario, and he's right because when Bronny was in high school, LeBron said that right now my son is better than half of the guys in the NBA, which was ludicrous.
I remember that. Yep.
That's where all this really started. If LeBron never said that, then we're not having this conversation right now. Because what he did by doing that, he basically put a target on his son's back in high school.
Yep.
How dare you say that your son, who is in high school, is better than half the guys in the fucking NBA? That was ridiculous. Yep. All right. So everything that happened after that, the proximate cause of everything is LeBron making that stupid ass statement. And that's not really in LeBron's character, because LeBron's very calculating what he does. He's very smart, very intelligent, and he has managed his career like no other. All right. So for him to slip up and say something like that is just mind-boggling. But that's what started this whole gravy train with everybody dumping on Bronny, because he put a target on his son's back. All right. I don't know if you ever seen Bronny play. He is not an NBA player at all. Not close to being an NBA player. He was drafted. What I'm hearing. He was drafted in the second round, 55th overall by the Los Angeles Lakers. The only team that was going to take him. Why? Because his dad played for the Lakers. And LeBron said, I want to play with my son. That's my bucket list thing. I want to play in the NBA with my son. And obviously the Lakers made that happen for him by drafting him. They drafted Bronny and gave him a $7 million guaranteed contract. All right, when it comes to the NBA, second round draft picks do not get guaranteed contracts. Most second round players don't even make the fucking team. They usually play in the G League or go
Right.
overseas, so on and so forth. So really, getting drafted in the second round is basically they try to develop you if they can, and to see if we can make you a player at some point down the line. All right, but being a second round draft pick usually don't pan out. So Bronny got special treatment. All right,
Yep.
because of who his dad is, nepotism. Fine, okay.
Right.
Nobody's really mad about that. All right, that's fine. He got a guaranteed contract, which is kind of fucked up because that's a slap in the face to everybody else. You know, so that's kind of fucked up. And I think the Lakers messed up by giving him a guaranteed contract, not making him work for it, just giving it to him. All right.
Yeah.
And I did a show on this on my channel called The Conundrum of Bronny James. So
Okay.
check that out on my channel, What Lonzo Thinks. Anyways, that's a shameless plug. Anyways, but and what I said in my commentary was that LeBron is a billionaire. I think he's like the first billionaire athlete to make $1 billion while he's still playing.
Yeah.
All right. He's a billionaire. All right. And his son has come up in wealth. LeBron came from poverty. Basketball saved his life. That was his way out.
Yep.
All right. So my thing was in my commentary is that it's hard to be hungry when you're full. All right. LeBron had to work, grind, and everything to get to where he is. His son was born in opulence.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be as hungry to be a top level NBA player as his dad was, because his dad was broke. So you can't expect Bronny to have the same type of drive and ambition. I'm sure Bronny wants to be an NBA player. I'm sure that's his life's goal. I'm sure of it. But his path is different than his dad's. Bronny comes up with the best nutrition, trainers, everything that he needs, every auxiliary thing that he needs to be great, he has. All right. He's already famous. He's already making money. He was making money from NIL deal and everything. He was already a millionaire because his dad's a millionaire. He'd already earned more. He was a millionaire coming in even from his NIL money that he's earned and all these other income streams that he has. All right. But for LeBron to say that about his son, all right, was asinine. And that is what Stephen A was kind of referring to. You did this to your son. Because now what's happening is every time Bronny steps on the court, everybody's coming after him. All right, think about it. If you're playing against Bronny, and you know if you dunk on him, you're gonna be on the Sports Center highlight. That will help your career if you are someone who's struggling to make it in the league. All right, so he's a target. Every time he steps on the floor, Bronny is a target, and he is struggling. It is obvious. If you watch him for 10 seconds, it's obvious he is not an NBA player. Right? But he's getting the NBA player treatment. And that is what Stephen is referring to, that, man, LeBron, stop it. You did this to your son. You're making it impossible for him to be successful, because there's never been this kind of a spotlight on the 55th player picked in a draft. But every time he steps on the floor, the cameras are flashing, everybody's scrutinizing everything he does. You can't expect someone at his level of experience and skill level to be great. But every time he steps on the floor, he's getting that kind of criticism and treatment. Now think about what that can do to his son's psyche. All right?
Right.
To have that kind of pressure placed on him under no fault of his own. If you've seen him talking and everything, he's a very smart kid, a very respectful, so on and so forth. Even though he's the prince of the city, so to speak, he's not arrogant. At least he's on camera, he's not showing anything like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel I feel sorry for Bronny to have that kind of pressure on you everywhere you go, knowing that there's no way you're ever going to live up to it. Because I'm telling you right now, if LeBron stopped playing basketball today, the Lakers will cut Bronny tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. He will never see an NBA court again.
Yep.
All right. And
I agree.
We all know that. Stephen A knows that. And Stephen A, and that's what I think what Stephen A said was really a public service announcement aimed at LeBron. Like, yo, man, you did this to your fucking son. So LeBron is wrong to get mad at Stephen A. when it's something that he created.
Yeah.
Nobody made you go on TV and say that your son is better than half the dudes in the NBA. You know how much of a slap that is? Think about it. That's a slap to the guys on his own team. To say that your son is better than half the guys on the fucking NBA in the whole fucking league.
All right.
All right.
Well,
so of course, everywhere he goes, every city that Bronny goes to, I mean, every game he plays in, they're coming at him, guns are blazing.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to make an example out of Bronny because of something his dad did.
Right.
All right. So yeah, so Stephen A was right saying, hey man, stop this, man. You really fucked up your son on this one. And he did. Not saying that LeBron's a bad parent. Obviously he's not a bad parent, but dude, you fucked up. Everybody's human, people make mistakes, and Bron, you really fucked up on this one. Right?
Yeah.
And that's what Stephen A was saying. Maybe Stephen A should have been more eloquent in saying it, you know.
Right.
But for LeBron to confront Stephen A at the game, to do that once again, LeBron's very calculated. He don't do anything, all right? He don't do anything without putting it through all these different filters. All right. He knew how it would look. He knew the cameras were watching. He knew that him putting Stephen A on blast was going to get the reaction that he got. Okay. Yeah. And he knew that he could punk Stephen A because, you know, LeBron is 6'9", 250 pounds.
Right. Yeah. He's a big dude.
Breaks off Stephen A. So and you know he wasn't going to beat his ass, but we all know that he can. And, and the video of him towering over Stephen A. and talking down to him.
Yeah.
You read the lips, he's cussing his fucking ass out.
Yeah.
So it's the optics, all right?
Yeah.
That went along with that really, you know, crystallized everything for everyone when it comes to the disparity between LeBron and Stephen A. Smith. And another thing, this happened on the same day that Stephen A. signed his big contract with ESPN, 5 years, $100 million. This was Stephen A.'s big night.
Yeah.
So he did this on Stephen A.'s big night when he finally cashed in.
Yeah.
All right. So none of this shit is coincidental. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So LeBron, if you're out there listening, you fucked up, buddy. All right. and you come to me, hey, I'm 6 feet, 185 pounds. All right. All right. You know, but hey, I might get a lick in.
Well, let's just hope these two guys will. I don't see Stephen A. changing his shtick. So, but I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe something will come out of this where he will consider. It's so unique, the LeBron James Bronny thing. I don't know how often you're going to have this kind of dynamic, whatever. But
by the way, LeBron has another son, Bryce, who I think is graduating this year.
Okay. All right. So well, it could be.
He's going to have two sons in the NBA because you know Bryce. There's no way they're not going to draft Bryce.
Well, I feel like because of this, the teams
so Bryce can get drafted. So.
Yeah, the teams probably won't feel as pressured because of what's going on with this. Well, I'm going to have to wrap it up. I will say this: Stephen A. is not going anywhere, especially with $100 million. Somebody likes his delivery, but. I will say this: I can respect a man trying, as doing the father thing or whatever. I mean, it's sometimes people, you talk bad about their wife, even if it's true, they're going to come, they're just going to protect their family, and it's a jam up thing in many ways. So I know maybe his son saw him do that and go, "Thanks, Dad. You stood up for me," and maybe because of what Stephen A. is saying, LeBron might, consider maybe this isn't the best way to handle my son either. So I don't know. This is going to continue on, but let's hope nobody hurts nobody or gets into whatever. But either way, we'll all be watching. Yeah. All right, man. I'm gonna have to wrap it up, man. A lot of good ones this time, and surprisingly, thankfully, you picked something in basketball I actually had a little bit of knowledge on, because there's probably a lot of subjects you're familiar with that I wouldn't know all that much about, but Stephen A. he's crossed over into politics and everything else. I think sometimes I wish ESPN would just stick with sports, but they do get into some of these other topics sometimes. Anyway, I am the white guy.
I'm the black guy.
And I don't want to say I'm on the red team, but I am an anti-communist. Black, white, left, right, we appreciate you guys tuning in again for another episode. Again, we're trying to do these about every 10 to 15 days. If you haven't checked out the website and you just see this in a link, we're on YouTube. All you got to search for is Black, White, Left, Right podcast, and there it is, man. And I'd say, what's the name of your other podcast?
What Lonzo Thinks.
What Lonzo Thinks. Yeah, I've been on a couple episodes of that too, guys, even all the way back into when it was COVID time. So some pretty interesting stuff on there too. Y'all go check that out if you have the time. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back before you know it. And next time I think I'm going to have one of those margaritas with you there. It's going to have to be part of the show. Yeah, man. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see y'all next time. Y'all, peace out. Take care.